Thanks for tuning in to your favorite content creator, UTV. To find out more, follow us on our social media platforms: YouTube UTV124, Facebook UTV124, Instagram UTV124, Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
I can't
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Monday, August 9th, 2021. And as always, it's always a pleasure being here with you. Blessed love, blessed love. I hope that you guys had a good weekend. We're coming on this week and we still have a lot to discuss. I want to say to those of you listening to us, as always, on the radio, if you're driving or if you're home, like my grandmother is, she listens to radio mostly. Good morning to all of you, and I hope that you're doing fine. And yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the year. That's amazing to me that a year could pass by so quickly. You know, we're almost near the end. Also, if you are watching on our different social media platforms where we are streaming live, as always, from 11, thank you very much for joining us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and all of the others. We appreciate that very much. And if you're still watching television, we appreciate that too on channel 124 on Flow, UTV Underground Television. Good morning to those of you in Sufra. I saw you guys over the weekend, some of you at least. You know, I guess you're still celebrating. It was good seeing you guys. But even as we're still talking and some people still reeling over elections, I see the mad people on caps looking for everything to talk about Pojab. But we haven't heard until recently the former Prime Minister, Alan Chastanet, come out to say anything. I think he had to take some time to lick his wounds, to, I don't know, do whatever you do after a loss like that. So it is important that we listen to what he has to say, because in my mind and in the mind of many solutions, the United Workers' Party lost not only because all of them were part of everything that was going wrong with the country, and they were part of it, but Alan Chastanet had to go. And I think that was the rhetoric, that was the narrative, that's what people felt. And like all of, you know, what we've seen, where you will get the house slave, the kind of house slave mentality where people will try to save their massa, try to save, you know, the person not feeding them and helping them, and they in the house, and the others that are outside saying, you know, we need to be treated better and all that kind of thing. They would rather be punished. They would rather take what the people had for the master, and that is what we've seen. So people have lost their seats. Spider, where are you? You okay? Ezekiel and all of the rest, and Fede that were right next to him and protecting him and making sure that Chastanet was okay, and that making sure that they were protecting him. They got the brunt of that, but Chastanet is still alive, still there. Politically at least, and it would be interesting, like I said, to hear what he has to say since that loss. Would he take responsibility for his actions? Will there be a change within the United Workers' Party, or will we see more of the same, more of the arrogance, more of the blaming, more of the insulting people's intelligence? Because how could you? You guys are stupid and you made the wrong decision. Listen for yourself.
Former Prime Minister Alan Chastanet took to the friendly airwaves of partisan UWP Talk Radio for his first interview since the party was demolished at the July 26, 2021 polls. During the interview on UWP Media, the Miku South MP addressed a number of issues from the former government's policies to the defection of Stephenson King. The SLP won 13 seats with independent candidates. Stephenson King and Richard Frederick, who were also victorious, were appointed to the new SLP cabinet of ministers. Chastanet, who was appointed the leader of the opposition, continues to rebuff criticism that his style of governance led to the party's demise at the polls.
But you know, one of the things that you've said is this story that they were saying.
Yeah.
And let us look at the people who were saying it.
Yeah.
Richard Frederick.
Yes.
Even the same Stephenson King.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are they now?
That's the question.
Have they not been rewarded?
Yeah.
Were they saying it because they genuinely cared about this country? Or there was a plan all along?
Yeah.
You're telling me that Labour would have found it to put Richard Frederick not only in the cabinet, they put him in the Prime Minister's office?
Yeah.
Well, I wish them luck. Maybe they know something that we don't know.
Maybe.
Right? And hopefully it works for them. But let us see.
Let us see. Time will tell, right?
Time will tell.
The former Prime Minister has questioned the sincerity of Stephenson King and Richard Frederick.
Stephenson King, I know we did everything we could.
Yeah.
He clearly had a decision to make. But what I don't like is where he would try to suggest that he did it for the country and he was a patriot.
No.
That's not true. He did it for himself.
Amen.
Okay? And I think that it would have been more honest in his part to have said that I've reached a point with United Workers' Party that I cannot give it the level of commitment. And
I'm moving on.
And move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the party changed and he changed. These things happen all the time. But to malign the party, to demean people of this party on the basis of lies, I'm sorry.
For personal purposes.
Personal purpose. And this is where the fortitude within the party has to come.
Chastanet took subtle digs at Stephenson King throughout the show over his divorce from the party on the heels of the election. He also pushed back at the notion that the UWP has lost its way, standing by his attempts at building a new St. Lucia.
United Workers' Party is back stronger than it's ever been before.
I believe that.
When I hear some people in some very high positions who were held in the highest esteem by United Workers' Party, who have not participated in one meeting since 2007.
No, I know some as well.
And would come and say they don't recognize the party. How can you recognize it?
You're never involved. You're not
involved.
Yeah.
The reality is the spirit of the party never changes. The people do. But the spirit doesn't. This party is as much, and it stands for the same things that Sir John did, that Alan Bousquet, J.B. Bousquet, all the persons that were the founders, Mallet, Henry Giraudy, what they started, the problems are different. The times are different. Okay?
Indeed.
And the party has to adapt. But the reality is the overall goal to see no suffering, to see people prosper, these values remain.
The Miku South MP vows to be vigilant on the opposition benches.
When I'm in the House, I've had a long talk with Bradley.
Yeah.
Is to remember that we represent 37,400 people.
That's right.
Right? That's a huge part of the population of this country. And I don't want people to have the expectation that how the Labour Party performs in the House is what we're going to do. We are going to support the government in all the things that they do well. We will remain vigilant. And we will hold them accountable to the promises that they've made.
Chastanet claims that nothing is going to change on the issue of projects started by the previous administration, despite the Friends, Family and Foreigners rhetoric. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.
Sometimes it's easy to have faith when bad things.
Now, all of that being said, I think Desrol, he's a comedian, he really puts it in perspective that people are just, the former Prime Minister is just blaming everyone. And he had a sketch that I thought, it's exactly what it must be like with people, people who have lost, sitting down and wondering, what was the problem? Because I remember, they were saying, don't give people the money. Remember the Malaway syndrome and Baimun Powell, Baimun Mepui, as if roads were going to win them the elections. And of course, the money that they were giving on the day and even before that, Bakabaila t-shirt, it's like I gave vote. And clearly to them, well, it was surprising But Miguel, you're saying too much in the comments, by the way. Miguel, stop. With all of that being said, this next clip, I think, must really be what it is like with people who won't take account, won't take accountability, won't take any responsibility for their actions.
Guys, how did we manage to lose this election? We had Flubble Friday. We had huge motorcades. I even did the horse thingy. Guys, how? I think a lot of it is your fault.
My fault? Boy, ever since King moved in the party, people have been watching us a different kind of way.
But because of your mouth, we lose.
My mouth? You the one that concerned about building roads. You're not even supposed to lose your constituency. Well, I cannot even talk because I lose mine.
He does have a point, yeah.
I'm disappointed.
And speaking of building roads, I think we need to take a look at that as well. There have been discussions on whether, St. Lucia, that's what we need, and the prioritization of different issues. And for the United Workers' Party, clearly to their detriment, they thought that building roads would suffice, that is what St. Lucia needs. But we've also seen with Fresh Start, them getting, that company getting projects. They definitely had all the preferential treatment. And in the Rodney Bay works that started, we saw the work being done all in midnight, all 1 o'clock in the morning. People don't care about curfew. You just saw a lot of work being done, many workers there as well. But it was strange. It is strange to know that the Saturday right before elections on the Monday, 50% of the workers there were let go within Fresh Start. That, I think, says a lot, because to me, what legitimate company right on the heels of an election would decide let go of the workers because maybe, I don't know, maybe you get in it, the money you get in, you just won't get it anymore. Maybe they felt they were already going to lose. So they stopped the Rodney Bay works, and today I'm seeing they started again, but not with the same sort of speed, not with the same kind of workload. It's all really on a go slow. And for that, I know that there are the first cabinet meeting has been today. So for that very reason, we have spoken about the roads before, we've spoken about Fresh Start, but we must not let that go. And just so we understand that the work's being done there, the experts have had a problem with it. I can see that this is madness. It's madness that you will get a sidewalk taller than I am, higher than I am on one side, and then another side, it won't get past my knee. And just from looking, just from driving, people can already see that is an issue. And for that reason, we are going to take a look at that again. The next clip will be images that we've seen just last week on the discrepancies that we're already seeing in the works being done there by Fresh Start. So when you look at the wasted resources and concrete on concrete and sidewalks being broken down and then put together again, and things, sidewalks so high they block in people's homes, and on the other side it's not the same thing. We need to know what's going to go on with that, and more importantly with Fresh Start, now that y'all, I don't know, lost elections, y'all were going through it hours upon hours, 24 hours right throughout the clock, working on that road, and now you're about 5-10 people trying to do something, it looks like, today. I know, like I said, Cabinet is meeting for the first time, but it means something, I think, to all right-thinking solutions to know exactly what's going on and to make sure that the money that has been wasted, the money that's been given to Timothy Mangal and all of the others, and all of what Fresh Start has done in the past 5 years, that we're going to look into that. And if we have forgotten, I think we need to remind ourselves too that the payments for that road and just the way that it was being done, given to Timothy Mangal when he was not supposed to get it, when there was no work already being done, and pay interest. All of these things are things that we need to look at, and I know maybe they're in their meeting, but I think it would be remiss of me and for us to forget it. And some people are saying, you know, let's forget that, you win already. No, I don't think that's the case. There has to be justice placed with our taxpayers' money that's been going into the madness. That's just one example of the Rodney Bay Road. But like I said, as we have to remind ourselves, we need to look back at some of those clips.
Fresh Start is supposed to design, to finance, and to build those projects using their money. Okay, they use their own money. The terms are that after the project is finished, I need you all to listen, you know. After the project is finished, certified, they have spent their money, we now owe them. When that indebtedness is created, and the indebtedness can only be created legally when the project is completed, certified and completed and certified. So after that is done, there is a 12-month moratorium. So during that year, the government of St. Lucia would have already created the indebtedness to Fresh Start. We don't pay them, but we pay them quarterly interest sums on the $50 million, which will only be due upon completion and certification. You're with me? Good. The balance of the monies, well, the interest is paid, and after 1 year, we start paying them in the same 3-month period, quarterly, principal and interest for that quarter. Now, folks, none of those arrangements are calculated on our debt, although it is a burden, a financial burden carried by the state. It is a financial burden carried by the state. But let me just show you an internal memo of the contractual terms of Fresh Start project. Could you put up that first memo for me, please? Good. Department of Finance, from Director to PS. Date 17th June 2020. 4 years after they have been in office. Over 4 years. National Road Rehabilitation Project, Fresh Start. The Department of Finance is pleased to inform you that approval has been granted under the following terms and conditions with respect to the National Roads Rehabilitation Program using a design, build, finance, transfer loan facility. The project, by the way, folks, leave that up. By the way, let me just inform you, information coming to hand. Julius, Tiger has not paid Julius. Julius is taking Tiger to court for the road that was given to Tiger in Dennery as a result of a direct contract. He could not do it. He contracted Julius. Julius has worked. He can't get paid. That's under the show. But Julius, if you're listening, I would want you to call the show for me when I open the lines, please. Okay. The project includes the provision for culverts, bridges, and road crossings as part of the terms. Terms of facility. Project limit, 50 million. Facility, design, build, finance. Repayment term 4 years plus 12 months moratorium with an interest rate at 5.25%. Now, moratorium on principal 12 months from date of commencement of work. Good. So folks, this is a schedule of payments. Okay, you can take it down. Which shows that we are paying them after completion. There is a 12-month moratorium on principal payment. So for the following year after completion, all we pay them is interest on the money to which they are now entitled. And after that year, we begin paying them interest with principal. Okay? Now there is a schedule of payments, which I will show you. It shows the quarterly payments. So for 4 years, quarterly, there are 4 quarters in a year, so there would be 16 payments for 4 years. But for the first year, there's a total period, you could say, of 5 years of payment. The first year, interest alone. The next 4 years is interest and principal. Could you put up the schedule for me, please? They will. Okay, right. You will notice here the schedule of payments to Fresh Start. Each payment represents a quarterly payment, folks. It represents a 3-month payment, so any 4 payments together would be for 1 year. Beginning by moratorium, the interest, as you can see here, for every 3 months is $656,250. All right? $656,250. And that will kick in after completion of the works are certified and after we in fact owe Fresh Start $50 million. So let us say that is money they have in the bank and they're entitled to interest. They will get interest because we owe them. Now folks, that amounts to about $218,750 a month in interest. Zodbietan, $218,750 a month. You can take that down. Folks, that interest payment becomes due only when, 1, the works are completed, 2, the work has been built to specification or to standards, 3, Fresh Start have spent all their money on the projects, so then they are now entitled. And 4thly, our engineers have certified the work. So work is certified, payment is due, interest kicks in. But this is corruption at its highest level. Only 2 quarters have elapsed since they signed the contract. Yo poko même commencé, juge ouais fini. Nou ha ka paye yo le terrain, en lè la ha nou poko dwe yo. You know? When will it stop? When? So it is correct to say that based on those 2 payments that we have paid Fresh Start, once the ink had dried on the contract, we started paying interest. Because we have paid for the only 2 quarters that have passed since the signing of the contract, when they have not spent a penny yet. Folks, like I said, this is institutionalized corruption, aided and abetted by the political directorate. You know? So it is safe to say, like I said, we are paying interest from the day the contract was signed. Now, let me first show you the two payments. As I indicated, they signed in June. You saw the thing. July, August, September is one quarter. October, November, December is another one. A third is not up yet. But the 2 quarters that have passed or elapsed, you are in interest of $1.3 million. Show them the first treasury thing for me, please. Good. Vendor name, Marigo Buildings. What happened? Fresh Start made the payments, directed that the payments be made to Marigo Buildings Depot Limited. The contract is in Fresh Start, but Marigo Buildings Depot Limited is the one receiving the dough. $656,000. The date here is, where's the date? Clearance date, 22nd February. 22nd of February 2021. 656,000. Give me the second one. 22nd of February. The other one, 3rd of March. 3rd of March. Another one, 22nd of February, 6, and what? How long later? 5 days. 5 days later, another one for 656,000 again. Those are 2 invoices for representing interest payments for Fresh Start. And folks, the 2 of them are a mere, 5 and 8 days, 8 or 9 days apart. 8 or 9 days apart, $1.3 million in interest. You could take it down. Folks, is that right? Is it right? In a time when the government is saying they cannot even pay COVID wardens. COVID wardens had to work for 2 months before being paid. When the Prime Minister says the country is broke, it is not broke. The resources are ill-directed. We are in a mess. Poor people can't get reprieve. They cannot get assistance. They can't. You know, several wardens have indicated to me, boss, up to the end of February, they're not bothering me again, so they seem to have been paid. But corruption thrives in this country. Oh yes, it does. So, you know, as curiosity would have it, I went and do my research on who is Marigo Depot Buildings Limited. I went to do that. I want to know what's going on. I saw the registration, put it up, of Marigo. Marigo Buildings Depot Limited, company number C493 of 2007. I wanted to know who the shareholders of Marigo, and that y'all could say what y'all want. What everything I showed there, genuine documents, facts. Those are facts. Good. Show them who the shareholders are for me. Please scroll up. Scroll up, scroll up. Yes. List of persons with shares. Good. The only shareholder, if you look to the bottom left of your screen, is no other than Timothy Mangal. The only shareholder is Timothy Mangal. Scroll up again. Let's see who the directors of the company are. Let's see who the directors of the company are. And we go to the directors of the company. The company has only one director, Timothy Mangal. Timothy Mangal. I didn't make it up. I didn't make it up. And I leave the rest to you guys. Sign a contract in June. From June to now, only 2 quarters have safely elapsed. We have already paid interest on $50 million for those 2 quarters. So we paid interest on $50 million to which Fresh Start is not entitled. And Fresh Start directed that the monies be paid to Marigold Buildings, Timothy Mangal.
Nothing for something, nothing for nothing, something for something, nothing for nothing, something for something, nothing for nothing. Corruption, corruption, corruption in the society. Corruption, corruption, corruption in the society. Corruption, corruption, corruption in the society. Corruption, corruption, corruption in the society.
So just so that we can refresh our minds and remind ourselves of the corruption that we have seen with the former administration and how Fresh Start has been involved, and now you can send the millions to Timothy Mangal even when no work has been done, even when you're not supposed to be paid yet. Until the work is completed, he's already getting paid. And with what we see with Fresh Start and people letting others go, all the jobs that they said and they pretended to care about, when you said that when the Prime Minister and his minions were saying that you needed to have road rehabilitation and that would bring about job creation and, you know, the economy would thrive. Days you have election, and you pretend to care. So when it comes down to it, you can see what people are prepared to do, and Fresh Start is just one of them. But more than that, when I see all of these things and people who know they might lose, so they decide to just close up shop, you're not a legitimate business, and it is an insult to those small business owners and some larger who actually don't have net and power and friends and whoever, or people that they can have on a string to call in government to say help them out. They tried what they could. They had to be creative. They had to close down during COVID. They had to do all kinds of things, refinance, go to the banks, do what they had to do because they don't have anything else. And you have people like Timothy Mangal who can walk around freely. People from Fresh Start, these people who can walk around freely knowing what they did, knowing that they're leeching off us and our taxpayers' money. But I'm telling you, for the real businessmen and businesswomen out there, I really feel it for you, and I feel it because that should never have to happen. And with the new administration, I hope to see some change. I hope to see some change in really assisting real businesses to make some profit, to help make them some money. And more than that, I want to see a change in real respect going into the experts. People who have the real engineers, Fresh Start partner here. Guy memte di yo partner here, yo partner mem truck, yo partner here, and clearly we can see there's no real professionalism in that. You have sidewalks being built on sidewalks, concrete upon concrete, and some people are sending me messages. By the way, I have to say thank you to you guys because I think it's down to all of us. People are seeing things happening in their own communities, and it is the onus is on us to come out and speak our truth, and do not let them get away with it. And just so I can read some of the comments that I'm already getting, and I think that is important too. Even from View4, people are saying Nationwide was busy all weekend on the St. Jude's Highway, on the St. Jude's Highway road. Apparently they were paid long time to do that road, and zero was done, and now they're rushing to do it. Now they're rushing to do some work. Another person said not only the Rodney Bay Road, but part of the roundabout at Union. Some aspects have been built, broken down, and rebuilt more than twice. They're working like they have no idea what they're doing, and you are absolutely correct. And some other messages coming in still. We need to keep our eyes open to make sure that this does not continue. That's where I'm at. And as we continue to speak about the Rodney Bay Road, and like I said, I needed to see a change. There are experts coming out. I remember Guy Joseph, Davini D, John Peters should be ashamed of himself. Who is John Peters? A former engineer in the Ministry of Infrastructure. Other experts have been ridiculed by the former administration, and I, again, want to see a change. People need to be respected, and as we go into the next experts speaking about this Rodney Bay project, I hope too that the new ministers and the new cabinet will take this into account.
Been observing the construction of the roadworks in the Rodney Bay area along the main highway over the last few months, I guess like most other people who live in the north. And I put together a few comments under 4 subsections. The first one relates to the objective of the project. The second relates to the conceptualization of it. The third to the planning and execution. And the fourth to alternative concepts. So the objective of the project was originally to improve the functioning of the main Rodney Bay intersection. To facilitate that, the limit of works only needed to be a total of about, I would say, 800 meters of road reconstruction or upgrading. You would have extended it, 370 odd meters on either side, heading to Castries and then heading to Grosilley. At this point, it extends all the way, up to the Key Largo intersection. That section of road, really serves no purpose to enhance the functioning of the Rodney Bay intersection itself. An additional objective could have been to improve traffic flow into Castries, but with the current project, all that will result is transferring that bottleneck to either the Monjiro-Moshi intersection or a bit further down to the Computer World intersection. But there will be no improvement, there will be no reduced travel times in the mornings, during rush hour to get into Castries. So having these 2 roundabouts at Old Military Road and at the Key Largo intersection, it is not going to improve the travel times during rush hour. The second thing is the conceptualization of it. There are a lot of things that were overlooked. Originally, when the construction of the project had started, the first roundabout was being set out at the Old Military Road intersection, and the second roundabout was being set out at the Rodney Heights intersection. And I remember there being a lot of talk about how close the 2 roundabouts were and the safety hazards associated with having 2 roundabouts so closely spaced. I think the first person to really voice that was Calix George Jr. And everything he said was spot on. It's only after that that program had aired that I noticed efforts were being made a couple months later to set up this second roundabout at the Key Largo intersection. The third thing is the planning and execution, which in my opinion I think wasn't well done, primarily because the design was incomplete, as I mentioned before, and because of that a lot of mistakes have been made. For one, you can see the section of sidewalk outside the Railway Park as you approach the Volney gas station coming from the north. You can see that there's a section of sidewalk there that the levels are completely incoherent. They don't follow. So they're gonna have to basically use a lot of makeup concrete to to end up having a section of sidewalk that's about 700 mils thick. I mean, you only use those sorts of concrete cross sections to build, bridges, or I mean, with a 700 mil thick slab can probably span as much as 50 feet. So for a sidewalk, it's a real overkill, and I just see a lot of things like that happening along length of the road. I mean, too many to mention every single one, but the main consequence of that is very poor planning and rushing the construction, not taking time to really think through exactly how they're gonna execute the project. There are other things that have been overlooked as well. When the length of road to be reconstructed has been increased by so much, it's going to be necessary to implement or to construct a series of pedestrian overpasses. Originally, when we had done the proposal I had mentioned to you, we only had one pedestrian overpass because the limit of works was very small. It was less than 800 meters, as I mentioned. So there was a pedestrian overpass going from around the Railway Park, Rodney Heights development to a bus stop just in front of the Providence building or JQ Plaza. But now, I mean, because it extends so far, you're going to probably have to have a series of pedestrian crossings or pedestrian underpasses or overpasses or something that will disrupt the traffic flow even further and kind of defeat the purpose of it. Is also going to bump up the budget even higher than it already is. The fourth point is really related to some more viable concepts, which I think would have made a lot more sense. The obvious option that I think a 5-year-old will come up with, and it will work, is an asymmetric roundabout at the main intersection. I mean, that would have resolved the problem of improving the traffic flow across the intersection. That is what the Ministry of Infrastructure had initially asked for from bidders on that project, but I don't know. We never got a response to our submission, so I don't know. The second alternative I would have suggested is something like an overpass. The overpass would have very limited land acquisition requirements, and it would be a much longer term solution than a roundabout. The overpass could also have been incorporated into a longer term plan for that section of roadway. Just like some years ago, I remember the Bonte Bridge was replaced and 4 lanes were incorporated into that as part of a more long-term plan. I mean, the same approach could have been used for this project and an overpass constructed so that it would probably be there for the next 50 years, beyond us. And the third option is a signalized intersection where the drain that runs along the perimeter of the Railway Park, that could have simply have been, boxed and slabbed, and a turning lane introduced so that motorists coming from Grosley and other areas north of the main Rodney Bay intersection could line up and wait for traffic light to indicate to them to turn right into Rodney Bay, while the traffic on the left of them, would just be, free flowing into Castries. In my opinion, I think the worst thing about the concept currently being constructed is that for motorists who want to go into Rodney Bay, who are coming from the north, so like Grosley, Bonte, etc., you're going to have to drive all the way down to Old Military Road and turn around there and then come back up to go into Rodney Bay. And when you're coming out of Rodney Bay, if you want to go to town, you're going to have to drive all the way up to Kilago, Larry Tretch Road, and then turn around and come all the way back down. I mean, that was completely unnecessary. If any one of the other 3 alternatives were used, you'd have been able to reduce travel times, vehicle operating costs, etc. Road maintenance costs over a long time. There was no detailed study done for this thing. It was just a rushed, unplanned, poorly executed project, and it's very easy for people to see that now.
So with all of what we are seeing here, I think it's again about priority. Fresh Start had so many different projects, including the one at the Badlil, when we remember we had that system, the road caved in, and it's been more than 2 months the work there had stopped. And we saw, instead of people putting their energy in that, because I see a huge danger in that I go interview for it every week, and we haven't seen any work there. And if you don't believe me, and if you haven't been driving in that area for a while, let's take a look at what it looked like just last week. So that hasn't been fixed in there's been no work on it in more than 2 months, but I guess there's no money to make there. They have no real, make sidewalk. So the safety of our people is not a priority, has not been a priority of this former administration, and we need to see a change in that. We'll open the lines in just a minute at 572-7588 and also at 484-7588. We can put it up now. And as we await your calls, though, with all of the projects that we're speaking about, and people saying, whether we should continue, and we're looking to see what exactly the new administration is going to do, especially when we've seen all this corruption, the incompetence, clearly the conflict of interest, Timothy Mangalka and Komil Naja, the lack of real prioritization of our people and our safety. I think it is interesting to hear the former Prime Minister's father speak of the projects and some that have to continue, that he thinks has to continue, and which ones don't. So you know what? Let's listen to Michael Chastanet.
I can guarantee you, they cannot touch that airport at all. They're not architects. You cannot downsize the airport. The way it's structured, the way it started, the foundation is there already. It has to go on.
Yes.
The only thing, Champagne, I can see them attempting, they may very well say, look, I don't want to put ideas in anybody's head, but there are different routes they can take and say, well, okay, fine, we can pay off the loan or get another company to take it over and operate it and take care of, let them be the financing, so that it doesn't have to go through the St. Lucia government. But
that would be a sad day.
But even that will take a hell of a long time, and they would be ill-advised to go in that direction, because you have a project that's already in motion. Yeah. You have how it's being financed by the various banks. Coming from. Yes. It's not coming off the backs of St. Lucians. That's right. It's coming from foreign investment. It would be foolish to do that. So I think we'd even go in that direction. That is number one. The other one is the St. Jude's Hospital. I was there yesterday. The place looks fantastic. It's just a matter of now putting the internals. Yeah. I hope they can find the best way forward to finish the hospital. Dr. Anthony said that he will finish it in a year. We'll see.
When did he say that? When did he say that?
He said that in his manifesto, one of them there before. Okay. He did say that he'll finish the hospital.
In a year?
Within a year, yeah. What else? What else you found out? There was the airport. Yeah. Then you have, what other projects?
Yeah, the water project.
I hope they don't interfere with the Cabot project, which is well on the way.
Yeah.
And do some nonsense there. But now that they're in power, they should emulate what the former Prime Minister did with Cabot and go and address the one down in the south, which is called, what's it again?
DSH?
No, in Miku.
In Miku or La Paradero?
The parody.
Oh, that is not going to be addressed. That's been there almost 20 years.
Yeah, sorry, that has been there. So they have the opportunity now to take the plan. But the other problem is it will be interesting to see what they're going to do with the DSH project.
Yeah.
And finally, let us see if they have the strength to follow and go ahead with the cruise ship terminal. These are my concerns.
Yeah, well, let me say that. There's a lot of concerns.
I don't want to blame anybody because, I mean, there are a lot of intelligent people in the St. Lucia Labour Party who can work out those things, and we'll take it there and see what they have to do.
You will come and say what project have to continue, what project don't have to continue. What you could have done before and tell, you know, your son what to do and what not to do, or you hope that there is no interference of Cabot. I am telling you, this Rodney Bay thing that we're just talking about, and all of the others, and Cabot and the Peters, like Napot, like, oh, DSH in Viewfort. I don't know where these people come up and have the audacity to say that. And also, it's also interesting when Michael Chastanet will say, oh, there are intelligent people within the SLP. Where's a lot of intelligent people in the SLP? When you know that you want some of the projects to continue and, you know, it will be ill-advised and foolish. If you want to talk, go ahead, I guess, on Sky and talk to Mr. Wow, and do you know what you're doing? Let's take our first call. Good morning.
Good morning, Tresha.
Good morning, sir. Sorry about the wait. Thank you for your patience.
No problem, Tresha. No problem. I love listening to you.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Tresha, listen. I want all of us to be calm about all of this. We've waited a long time. We can continue to wait a little more. For the current government to dot all its I's and cross T's in investigating the kind of corruption, the massive corruption, the corruption on steroids that we witnessed under the former administration. It doesn't make sense, or it will not make sense, for them to rush this thing to appease St. Lucians, those of us who want to see justice done in terms of the tens of millions or maybe hundreds of millions of dollars that was literally stolen from St. Lucia on the basis of the type of corruption that we witnessed. We have to allow the new government to investigate what went on, but do a proper and thorough investigation. If they have to bring in specialists from outside, let them do so. But we need for something thorough and proper to be done, so that nobody, if anybody is guilty of corruption, whoever is guilty doesn't slip through the crack or slip through the net because the process was rushed. So let us be calm about all of this.
But I want to see somebody in jail already. I want to see it. I want to see. Not just that. I want you to frustrate them. To les jours, they have to go to court. You take their passport from them. Every day they want to go out, but your passport, see them every day. They have to go in court for something. Wait till you. I understand, but that's where I'm from, and that's where I think a lot of people are.
Yes,
We've waited a long, long time.
Tresha, listen. You think I don't want to see somebody, at least one person, go to jail? Look, Tresha, I'm right there with you. But we need to give the guys a little time to do this thing properly.
I know.
Because we don't want any of those crooks to slip through the cracks. And I don't care whether it's a former government minister or former government ministers or crooked public servants who facilitated the corrupt processes that were used. I don't care. But let us be calm about all of this. Give this new government a little time to get this thing done properly.
But I'm telling you, I can give them a little time. But if they do not do anything about what we have seen, all of what we've seen in the past 5 years, I hate to say it, and St. Lucians will feel it, that, you know, everybody's the same. Tout le day, tout se même. That will be the repercussion of that if nothing is done.
No, Tresha, look, I agree with you. I quite agree with you. Again, I'm with you on all of that. But let us give... And the thing is, by the way, I hope they don't take too long before they report to us, the general public, in terms of what they're doing about and what, if any, their findings are in terms of all of that. Thanks, Tresha.
Thank you very much, caller, as always. I appreciate it. Always with the very sound advice. Let's take the other call. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for holding. Caller Levela. Hello, good morning. I don't know what happened with that one. Maybe we lost the call. We await more calls. If you guys want to talk about anything that we've had so far in the show, or you want to talk about something else and want to highlight it, you can call us at 572-7588 and also via WhatsApp at 484-7588. And with the last clip, and I decided to play it because, yeah, we were talking about Rodney Bay, but there's an audacity that I think the father of the former prime minister would have to tell people, you know, what should be continued, and he hopes there's no interference in Cabot, and he hopes nothing happens to DSH, and I guess you hope that there will continue to be the rents paid in your building for all of the different agencies that are there as well. When people are having their own personal benefits, of course, I would understand that you would want this new administration, and even now calling them, there are smart people within the SLP. Memko Josie Teddy, Pip is a smart man, and if he needs his help, he will assist him in any way. So hot, Josie. You will get more things like that. But I would say to this new administration, we too are looking at you, the people who want to see justice, the people who want to see their wasted taxpayers' money, and the people that used it for whatever reason. Have people travel, from you, to Kote, and buying nice things, and doing all of these things on our dime. We need justice for that. Let's take the other call. Good morning.
Good morning. Bonjour, Trisha.
Bonjour.
Moi, je suis pas gaspiller, Trisha.
Anali.
Manager pour West, large always.
What do you remember I like?
Large always. Masa.
I agree with you, caller. That you call it. Thank you very much, caller. Then we are on the same page. We are of one accord, because I'm feeling the same way about this entire thing. And as for these companies that spring up when people want to make money quick, and you would have, I don't know, the construction companies where you make the money, I guess. The money is in that. And when you don't have the preferential, the heir of the prime minister, I guess, and of government, you cannot survive. Fresh Start, is that how it works? When you're not a legitimate company and you don't seem to have any real professionals doing the work. Let's take the other call. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, Tresha.
Good afternoon already, yeah. Good afternoon, caller.
I am happy that Viewfortions voted for St. Jude's Hospital. I am happy that the majority of St. Lucians voted for the implementation of the consumer protection legislation, which was passed in March 2016. I'm happy for those things. I want to state publicly that I agree with your first caller, that the government should wait and we should not be rushing them, because in those matters, we need due process. We have many cases where persons who have actually admitted to misdemeanors have escaped because of lack of due process. You know, I will tell you privately of these cases. I don't want to say it online. If you remember, there's a city council case where somebody has filed, etc. I could tell you those things. So you need due process to make certain things well documented, so that when it gets to the court, that the prosecution, all right, has a tight case. There's no escaping it. We need to wait for that. But Trisha, as I talk there, right, we are talking about what happened in the past. But moving forward, we need to make certain that what happened in the past is not repeated. So civil society, the fourth and fifth estate, must make certain that we are vigilant, that we have zero tolerance for corruption, for perceived bias and conflict of interest, I hear many persons call stations, etc., and talk about politicians. But we need to lead by examples. So therefore, we need zero tolerance in public affairs, that's in the government, in statutory boards, as well as civil society, including our churches, right? We must start demanding accountability, transparency, and the rule of law from political, civic, and religious leaders in society, in our society. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Who enjoyed Coach. Janvier 4.
Thank you, Mr. Sedil.
All right.
That man was supposed to be my father-in-law. I told you that already. Let's take the other call. Good morning. Good afternoon, sorry.
Good afternoon, Trisha. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm good. How are you?
Okay. I did not too bad holding on.
Okay, Sabo.
As usual.
All right.
Let me tell you, Parliament's supposed to open any time between now and maybe next week. Or week after next, whichever. I'm just waiting to hear one thing, because I believe they might have a mini budget, etc., which I believe so. Right? So that Pierre could continue his whatever he has to do. Now, I just hope within that budget, I will hear certain things that will start knocking at the door. For an example, if he's special prosecutor, get somebody from outside or whatever. But there is one particular aspect of that corruption. Is the whole question of the education aspect. Where a school was not accredited, getting millions of dollars, spending 18 months, and afterwards, or 16 months, or whichever, it trash out. Okay? Now, I'm calling on the Minister of Education, if he's listening or whoever listening. A strong, no matter if you are PS or whoever it is, or whatever head have to run, if you cannot get documents pertaining to the non-credited of the, so all heads have to rule within that department. I hope the Minister of Education, Sean Edward, or his cohorts who are listening to me, send that message, because that one is very simple. Then the whole director was except director have a lot of work to do in it, to investigate. But that one don't have much investigation.
How you say that? How you can tell?
No, the credit, and it's just like you telling me you have a certificate, you apply for a job, and for the certificate to be credited, it have to go to the Ministry of Education. So the Ministry of Education, not much they have to do. Just to find out whether school is credited or not. And if it's not credited and you ask for documents, and they said there's no, to affirm that, immediately you know what the minister have to do? Go and arrest these two people, you know, man. And charge them. That's what needs to be done, you know. There's no much big fuss in that one. Okay, why the Lamberg University? Why one of the charges came to them was the school was not accredited. You know how dangerous that is? To people going to your school and the school is not accredited? That's wasting money, you know, man. And having the people to take loans and you are getting money, you are using the state. Trisha, India, India, Guy Joseph could run, but he can't hide. A government has a lot of authority, and there are certain aspects of things that is signed within the United Nations. Guy Joseph could run, but he can't hide. Both he and his wife. That's one. And there are other aspects of corruption which will take a little time. So at the end of the day, that's one of the easiest one I see that they could start with.
And there are so many callers, I'm sure. Thank you for reminding us of that thing with the CHTTI. Thank you very much, caller. I need to take the other call, though. We've had that other one on hold. I appreciate that. Okay, let's take the other call. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Trisha.
Sorry.
Good morning, listeners.
Okay.
Trisha, I am happy, but more fashy too. First of all, let me say kudos to you, Christopher, Richard, and all help in dethroning that dictator. Right now, the dictator has no clothes, and his father has no clothes. But what I'm really vexed about,
yeah, tell me,
is that I'm not seeing. I know it's early, but I was expecting to see at least one of those who misuse the country's money in corruption, in their corrupt ways, to be in handcuffs already, especially that guy Joseph for that Pajua letter. I can't wait to see that day, and I know that day will come, but I'm anxious.
So
I really
am
want to see that.
So am I.
Honestly, sister. Anyway, continue doing the good works. I kind of miss Christopher, but I know he really needed that break.
Yeah.
But continue doing the good works. Y'all are our heroes, and y'all will forever be our heroes.
Thank you.
Long live y'all, man.
Thank you very much, caller.
Aye, bless sister.
Thanks, yeah. I don't know what Christopher doing. He's probably unemployed just looking at the show anyway. Hi. I think with every call that we have gotten, I think people are all of this in the same mindset that we need to see justice, and I agree with you. I'm right there with you. Some people are saying we need to give, this new administration some time. I will, but not much. We need to see something done with all of that. And thanks again for reminding me. There have been so many scandals, so many instances of mismanagement of our funds and scandals, the Pajua letter, who can forget, and everything else. So yeah, the country will depend on not just me. I just host the show. You are my co-host as well, the callers. Thank you for reminding us. I didn't even put Pajua and all of the others that you remember. Remind the cabinet too, as they're meeting for the first time, and they'll be meeting numerous times after that. So yeah, it is our duty to hold them all accountable. I think we should take our last call. Good afternoon.
Tresha.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm free. My conscience is free.
How does that feel?
I did what I had to do, and I'm feeling free. When I called for Alan Chastanet resignation 6 months into his tenure, some people said I'm desperate in politics. I said, if you allow him to do 2 mistakes a year, if you multiply it by 5, that's 10, and he will do more than 2. So you see where he brought us? If only we stood up. When Guy Joseph did not pay me, they allowed me to get my money. Some people say they're right. Today, watch where we are. People are still crying, others are still crying. However,
just so we know, who can we get your name?
That's Frank here. I'm not hiding.
Okay. Go ahead, Frank.
Right now, I'm protecting the victory.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's Frank here.
Okay,
Frank
go
Charles.
ahead.
I'm not hiding. Trisha, a week after Guy Joseph was appointed, he went to Prince Plus, and he went to somewhere in Corinth. He was physically on the site with a yellow truck, Terry Valse and all his other guys, picking up the paint, the flooring, and other stuff related to St. Jude's. Up to a day like today, we doesn't know where the stuff are. And that is why I don't know how much time it's going to take. I said we could start with the little things. Guy Joseph could simply be arrested for under investigation as to where these materials are. And I believe the St. Lucian public will be happy about that. At least that's the first step. Because Guy Joseph had no authority to go and pick up the materials. Where are the paints? Where are the flooring for St. Jude's? Where are the electricals that were bought for St. Jude's?
And the cement
Where
and
are
the trucks.
nails? Where are the cement? All these things were there. The PVC pipes, where are those things? Guy Joseph needs to be arrested. I'm not saying charges yet, but he needs to be arrested, and he, with the police, have to go and actually say to us, if it's over there, it's over there. If we get it, all well and good. We have to condemn. If there were 100 and there is 50, he have to account for the other 50. That is a start. And my advice to the government, take it or leave it if you don't want. Firstly, write him and give him 1 week to submit these items, these materials. If after 1 week he cannot bring it back into government properties, Guy Joseph should be arrested for investigation as to where these materials are, because he was physically on there with his men loading them. And that's the first step that the government should take. Then we could dive into the Pajero letter, and hey boy Trisha, just wait to hear what went down with St. Jude. St. Jude's is a fiasco. Remember, I've always been saying that? It was a way to suck money from the St. Lucian public. Wait, you're going to hear. More to come.
Thank you very much, caller. I appreciate that. Thank you. That was our last call. But as you said that, Frank, it would have... I plan on doing that with the next show to look into St. Jude's and the things that have been taken right before and just after the elections as well. So we're going to get into that. But as always, I think we're doing a good job, and the calls and the comments and everything else in keeping some things in check and to make sure there is accountability. I want to thank all of you for watching. And even as we look at these new projects and what the former Prime Minister's father is talking about, investment and people coming in from outside and what he considers to be great projects, I don't think Cabot is one of that. I do not believe, and nor do the thousands of people in Vieux-Fort South. We don't want DSH. It has done nothing for us except, I guess, for y'all, you can sit in it and make it, you know, look good in it and put on suits and I don't know, whatever rich people do. I don't know. But it did nothing for us in Vieux-Fort. So when Alva said that you guys were leeches, he was right. Some of the investors that have come out in the past 5 years, we don't want that. And for that reason, I think with this new administration, the next 5 years at least, we need to see more transparency. We need to see more of our own people in some of those organizations making the decisions and making sure too that we have agency, that we have a stake in what is being done, in what is being done with this country, with our land and with our resources. So that's what I had to say. I want to thank all of you for joining us as always. Hopefully we should be here on Tuesday, God willing, and we will continue to have more discussion on so many of the really pertinent issues affecting us today.
We cannot have incomplete conversations with incomplete people. We have to start the process, and it's not government as much as governance that needs to change. We are having conversations with the wrong people in the wrong places at the wrong times, and the agenda is woefully inadequate. And this is the pattern that keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. If you're deciding something about my life, for Christ's sake, have me in the room. If we just do that, we will start to change the way decisions are made, the way we view ourselves and each other, and we will start to rethink this business of resource allocation, because that is what it comes down to. What is important? And what is important gets decided by the people who are in the room and at the table. So if you're not at the table, you are not important, my brother. And that is how it works. And so sometimes we have to break down doors, and we have to be impolite, and we have to tell people about their murder, because this is the only way you're going to get their attention. Unfortunately, a lot of our decision makers only understand embarrassment. It's really, really sad. And because it lowers all of us to have to descend to that, to get attention on issues which are national, which are broader than any one of us. And yet still we talk and we ask and we plead and we beg, and it doesn't change because we're doing that from the outside. The dilemma for a lot of us is that we don't want to get on the inside, because what we see on the inside does not interest us. And as I used in my speech, the problem is that you asking something of us in which we have no interest, and that is often the case. The only way that is going to change is to be in the room, in the conversation. We need to demand that. and we need to settle for nothing less. And that will begin to change the dialogue. The other really, really, really big thing that we need to do is to fix the education system. It's a cause for tears. But the example of the young lady that I mentioned who doesn't need to study literature because she's going to teach theater arts, that says everything. That says everything about the compartmentalization of our souls, of our bodies, of our minds, of our children. And we know the common entrance is a damned and dreaded thing, and we still will not take it out, even if the logic for it has long since disappeared, because we do not need to ration school places. That's what it was made for, to ration school places, to select out the dumb from the bright. We can't be doing that in 2021, but we won't change. And it is the same way that we are going to send a batch of unprepared students up and out of the system come 2022, having not taught them in 2020 and 2021. We are going to graduate them out of the system, and you will see them on the backs of lorries with their backpacks and their short pants and their slippers in their foot, because that is all they qualified to do. 100% of my children don't live here. Why? We are not people without means. We are not people without options. We are not people without futures. Why? Ask yourself that. Where are your children? They're gone. So who's left? Who's left gives you the government that you have.